Peace and blessings, beautiful people. Peace and blessings. This is Empress Imani, and welcome to this episode of Sacred Love Lessons. So today, you guys, we are talking about In My Shoes. This episode is inspired by the story The Elves and the Shoemaker by the Brothers Grimm. So if this is your first time here, I am Imani Sankofa, inspirational teacher of Sacred Love Lessons. I help women to honor the love within so they can manifest the life of their dreams. So you guys, I really love fairy tales. There's so much that you can learn. I even say that about the magical book. We call it the Bible. There's so many parables, so many stories, things that we can learn from. And there are lessons, breadcrumbs that the universe leaves for us to learn all around us, whether it be in nature or in fairy tales. So today we're going to focus on the elves and the shoemaker. There was a wealthy shoemaker who fell upon hard times due to the changing world. This shoemaker worked very hard and was very honest, but he could no longer earn enough to live upon. And at last, all he had in the world was gone. The shoemaker prayed, asking for clarity of direction and help. He saved just enough leather to make one pair of shoes. Then he cut his leather out, all ready to make up in the next day, meaning to rise early in the morning to his work. His conscience was clear and his heart light amidst all his troubles. So he went to bed in peace, left all his cares to heaven, and soon fell asleep. In the morning after he said his prayers, he sat himself down to his work, when to his great wonder there stood the shoes already made upon the table. The good man knew not what to say or think at such an odd thing happening. He looked at the workmanship. There was not one false stitch in the whole job. All was so neat and true that it was quite a masterpiece. The same day, a customer came in, and the shoes suited him so well that he paid twice the price for the shoes. The poor shoemaker with the money bought leather enough to make 2 pairs more. In the evening, he cut out the work and went to bed early that he might get up and begin the next day. But he was saved all the trouble, for when he got up in the morning, the work was already done. Soon buyers came in who paid him a lot for his goods, so much that the shoemaker bought leather enough for 4 more pairs. He cut out the work again overnight, and it was done in the morning as before. So it went on for some time. What was got ready in the evening was always done by daybreak, and the good man soon became thriving and well off again. One evening, as he and his wife were sitting over the fire, chatting together, he said to her, "I should like to sit up and watch tonight, that we may see who is it that comes and does my work for me." The wife liked the thought, so they left the light burning and hid themselves in a corner of the room behind a curtain that was hung up there and watched what would happen. As soon as it was midnight, there came in 2 little naked elves, and they sat themselves upon the shoemaker's bench. They looked up all the work that was out and began to ply with their little fingers, stitching and wrapping and tapping away at such a rate that the shoemaker was all a wonder and could not take his eyes off of them. And on they went till the job was quite done, and the shoes stood ready for use upon the table. This was long before daybreak, and then they ran away as quick as lightning. The next day, the wife said to the shoemaker, "These little elves have made us rich, and we ought to be thankful to them and do them a good turn if we can. I'm quite sorry to see them run about as they do, and indeed it's not very decent, for they have nothing upon their backs to keep them off the cold. I'll tell you what, I'll make each of them a shirt, a coat, waistcoat, and a pair of pants, and you'll make each of them a little pair of shoes." The thought pleased the shoemaker very much, and one evening, when all the things were ready, they laid them on the table instead of the work they used to cut out, and then went and hid themselves to watch what the little elves would do. About midnight, in they came, dancing, skipping, and hopping around the room, and then went to sit down to complete their work as usual. However, They did not find any leather cutout. Instead, they found the pretty little articles of clothing and shoes. They were at first astonished, and then they showed intense delight as they dressed themselves. Then, in the twinkling of an eye, they danced and capered and sprang about as merry as could be, till at last they danced out the door and away over the green. The good couple saw them no more, but everything went well with them from that time forward, as long as they lived. The end. So what did we learn from this story? Well, the first thing is that the shoemaker prayed and asked for help. He prayed and asked for help. How awesome is that? Because that's my go-to move. Prayer is what you say within yourself, about yourself, to yourself. He didn't consult with a lot of people regarding his situation. He didn't go around posting it on social media, telling people all about his problems and the challenges he was having. Instead, he went to his higher self, the God within him, and he prayed. The next thing we can learn from this story is that the shoemaker prepared for the next step in his journey. Even though he lost a lot, with the exception of the leather, he still pushed forward and he left out leather for one more pair of shoes. Number 3, he detached from the outcome. We saw how he prayed, he asked for clarity, he asked for direction, he asked for help, and then after he took the next most appropriate step by laying out the leather, he cast his care to heaven and he went to bed. So he wasn't up all night worrying and pleading his case. He went to bed. The next step, number 4, he continued to take the next most appropriate step. Each time that the elves made the shoes for him, customers would miraculously come in and it would be a perfect fit, to the point that the customers were paying twice as much for the shoes. The shoemaker then took this money and reinvested into his business in order to keep the flow going. So we saw him reinvesting in his business. Then number 5, the shoemaker and his wife gave back to the people who helped them. In turn, they gave energy for energy. The elves had been helping them so much that they were just engulfed with thankfulness and gratitude, to the point that they gave back. Now, you and I both know that all energy must be returned. Whether those people who help you get to where you are today, whether it was your ancestors, your spiritual team, whether it was an earth angel, or just someone here in the 3D realm who helped you get to where you are today. All energy must be returned, whether you pay it forward or you just pay it in kind to the people who help you. This also includes those who have stepped over people, squashed people, stolen people's ideas, stolen their work in order to get ahead. Just know, all energy must be returned. So it is better to give than to receive. And I leave you with this final thought. Give thanks for the harvest, the blessings, and the lessons. You don't need to know the whole plan. All you need to know is the next most appropriate step to take. Then take it in your own shoes. So that's all I have for you today. I hope this episode has been of value to you. Just know that I love you and I believe in you. And until we speak again, be the light.